Welcome back to Midday. We're joined now by Mark Bertoli of ABBOTT Wealth Management. How are you?
I'm fabulous. A little cold.
It is a little cold out there. That's what everyone's going to be complaining about the next couple of days. Colder than usual. So we've got some interesting stuff to chat about today. You were mentioning that Canada-China signed a $2.5 billion trade agreement.
Yeah, it happened.
So what does that mean for us?
You know, it didn't hit a whole bunch of the news because it happened on Saturday, and we've had Remembrance Day and everything. But there's a couple of things in here. First of all, about $1.5 billion of that, about $1 billion of it is a deal with Bombardier for discount jets, and then there's about a $500 million deal with a joint venture with Air Canada. But one of the things that's very significant in this is the fact that China and Canada have agreed to not go to a third currency. So in other words, we don't have to convert to American dollars to buy something from China and vice versa.
Oh, right on.
So that's I think a very positive move. Australia is doing a lot of business with Asia and China because of proximity, and this just makes it a little bit easier for Canadian manufacturers to compete, also with respect to our CNG projects that are coming online in British Columbia, and then resources as well for China. So
that's great.
I think it's opening the door, and it gets one step out of the equation.
That's excellent news.
Yeah.
Right on. All right, we do have our question of the day that we're going to get to as well. And today's question is, do we have an estate tax in Canada?
Well, that's a good question. Yes and no.
Okay.
The official language is no, we do not have an estate tax. First of all, we have to determine, is it an intergenerational transfer or not? So if it's from one spouse to another, and I'll talk specifically about RSPs or RIFs, or possibly a family cabin.
Okay.
So an RSP, let's say that each spouse has a $500,000 in RSPs and something happens to one spouse. It's called a spousal rollover, and there's no transfer, there's no taxable event at that time.
Okay.
Same with a cabin that's owned jointly, not an issue. The issue comes on an intergenerational transfer. In other words, going from the parents to the children.
Okay.
So let's look at the same $1 million RSP. We do not have an estate tax, but on your terminal tax filing, it becomes income.
Okay.
So $1 million income would put you at around 45% tax.
Wow.
So $450,000 of that would be going. Now there are strategies to work with this to minimize the effect on the estate, and that's a lot of the work we do. It's it really helps out. Now let's look at a real scenario. Parents bought a cabin for $50,000 25 years ago on Shuswap Lake. It's worth $1 million now, or $1,025,000.
Right.
So we have $1 million capital gain, and they want to leave it to the children. The families grew up there, great place to gather. Well, right now there's a capital gain of $1 million. There's going to be somewhere around $225,000 to $250,000 tax payable to CRA.
And a lot of people don't know this, right?
And a lot of families don't have that money to pay the tax. So they're forced to sell that property that's been in the family and created all those memories. So there are strategies around that as well, and ways to deal with that when you do correct estate planning.
So what's the simplest sort of tip you can give somebody when they're looking into stuff like that they can be aware of?
Plan.
Just plan.
Really seriously sit down with somebody, and it's no different than ignoring a symptom that you have and waiting. The inevitability of tax is there. And
there's no way around it.
Well, there isn't, but there's ways to plan for it so that you're not forced to sell the cabin and you know, so you don't have that hardship at that time.
Right. So just plan. Come chat with you guys, obviously, to have you figure it out.
We have some ideas.
Yeah, have some ideas there. Yeah, but that's definitely something I didn't even know about, all those taxes that you're going to have to look forward to if you don't plan properly.
So one other thing. Today's our final day for advanced voting. Okay. And you know, you look at our beautiful community, we get to choose the team to run our community. So we should all make a real effort to get out there and make our voices heard. Yeah, exactly. Right on. Thank you so much for coming in. If you guys do have a question for Mark or any of the team, you can email them at info@abbottwealth.com. Send in your questions, and maybe we'll use one of yours next time on Midday. Thanks so much for coming in. Thank you. Have an awesome day. You too. We will be back with more Midday right after the break.